And our starting point was noticing that many projects in Switzerland, particularly those who actually want to change something at the systemic level, so not just bring a new product on the market or a new service or scale something that exists, but really change something in the rules that govern a whole system or the paradigm of thought upon which it is based, those projects struggle a lot to find funding in Switzerland. So we decided to look into that and look particularly at what practices, what currently in this system, if we look at it, at how funding is allocated in Switzerland by foundations, that was our focus at the moment. How does this system work? What does it encourage? What does it incentivize? And what does it not incentivize? And so we looked, for example, on the very then visible level, what do we see? What are the behaviors? What are the results? Which kinds of projects get funded? Which ones do not? What kind of foundations exist? And then digging deeper and deeper, we looked at what are the structures that actually make it so that these type of projects are funded and others not. And further underneath that, what are really the paradigms or the beliefs? And there, I also don't want to spoil all of it, but we found a lot of fear, a lot of control, a lot of anxiety around what will actually happen. And we also developed, by basing ourselves also on existing research and reports that have already been produced, such as by Ashoka, McKinsey, the Swiss foundations, and so on, alternatives. What could other systems of allocating funding look like? And indeed, the way we will allocate funding within Nova Helvetia is a first prototype of that. So what happens if instead of thinking, okay, I now have the money, so I have the power and I will decide which projects are the best, so already putting a hierarchy, we actually do it so that we give the money to the people who would like to do something with it. And we decide together what is the best course of action. So a collaborative and a peer-to-peer allocation process as opposed to top-down and this entire power dynamic. So before you think, oh, this topic is very away from me, I don't really do fundraising, I don't really know what this is about, I probably don't have anything to say, this is part of the problem. So one of the first things that we noticed as a group is that talking about money is not sexy. It's not something that people want to do, it's something most people want to avoid actually. And even as a society in Switzerland, we tend to be very taboo and not really look into it. But at the end of the day, it's what makes it concrete, it's what makes it real, and it's what's needed to make a change. So all the groups that looked into all the topics, in order to really move forward, at some point funding will be needed. So that's why we really invite everybody, regardless of whether you have done work in this area, whether you feel knowledgeable about it or not, to join the roundtable and look into it. And what we also see, maybe as a last comment, is that the way foundations work in Switzerland was just an entry point, and we of course found that the entire financial system at the global scale is producing results that we clearly do not want, right? So there needs to be a further reflection going into that direction. So if you're excited about this, for example, also feel free to join, as we'll definitely continue our exploration in this direction.